Hey, welcome to the deep dive. Today we've gathered, well, quite a bit of material, articles, notes, all sorts of research focused on Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, specifically her recent health issues and what she's been up to creatively.
Exactly. And our goal here is pretty straightforward. Cut through all the chatter, pull out the key info from these sources, and give you a clear picture fast.
Get you up to speed on what the reports are actually saying.
And honestly, digging into this stuff, it was pretty fascinating. We're talking about everything from a really serious injury that happened while she was working
Right on the Hollywood Walk of Fame of all places.
to this pattern of her performing through some intense pain. And it all seems to tie into her latest projects and, her whole public persona.
It really does. The material paints a picture of this intersection between like personal health crises and this just relentless professional drive.
It's a real look at what it takes, maybe, to create under pressure, both physical and creative pressure. Okay, so let's jump into the big one. The most recent and maybe the most surprising incident. The sources talk about a severe knee infection, late 2024.
That's right. October, November timeframe. And it happened while she was filming her visual album, Something Beautiful,
Where exactly?
on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She was doing a late-night shoot for a track called, fittingly, Walk of Fame.
The Walk of Fame, like the actual sidewalk with the stars. How does filming there lead to a severe infection? What was she doing?
Well, the reports say she was rolling around and dancing.
Barefoot on the sidewalk?
Wait, barefoot on the Hollywood Walk of Fame?
Yeah.
That seems risky,
Uh,
hygienically speaking.
Extremely.
Did the sources say why? Why barefoot on, well, let's be honest, a probably pretty dirty public space?
They did. And this detail really stood out. Apparently, it came down to budget constraints.
Budget.
Yeah. The sources suggest she put most of the production budget into wardrobe, leaving less for things like, getting permits to clean the area or securing a properly sanitized set. Wow. Okay, so costumes over cleaning, essentially. That specific detail pulled from the sources is kind of revealing, isn't it?
It really is. It points to those tough trade-offs that happen in production, maybe. Resource allocation choices.
And the outcome. How bad was this infection?
The sources use the word brutal. And Miley herself reportedly described it quite graphically, saying the infection caused her kneecap area to disintegrate.
Disintegrate. That's intense. Did she need hospital time?
Yes. The material indicates a brief admission to the ICU. This was around Thanksgiving 2024.
ICU. Wow.
Yeah, partly the severity of the infection itself, but the reports also mentioned the ER was just really packed at the time.
Okay, and what about the doctors? Did the sources mention how they reacted?
That's another detail that got highlighted. Doctors were apparently shocked. One, despite being used to complex surgeries, even cadavers, reportedly just said, yuck.
A doctor said yuck. That really tells you something about how bad it must have looked.
It definitely underscores the severity, yeah.
And what did Miley attribute it to? Did she blame the filming conditions?
Directly. According to the sources, she pointed right at the unsanitary state of the Walk of Fame and the lack of cleaning or proper permits for that shoot.
And she's talked about this since, openly.
She has. We learned she discussed it on Jimmy Kimmel Live back on May 22nd of this year, 2025.
How did she talk about it? Still sounding intense.
Well, the sources noted she recounted it with some humor, actually, which seems to be kind of her way of dealing with these things publicly.
Right, that tracks. That ability to find humor in something painful. Because looking at the material, this knee infection, it's serious, but it's not the only time she's faced a major health issue and kept going, is it?
No, not at all. Her health history, as outlined in the sources, shows this real pattern of resilience.
What else came up in the research? What are some earlier examples?
Well, there was the incident with the ruptured ovarian cyst back in 2023.
Oh, I remember hearing something about that. When was that?
It happened right around her Miley's New Year's Eve party special. The one with Dolly Parton.
A ruptured cyst sounds agonizing. How did she describe it?
The material quotes her calling it extremely excruciating and traumatic.
Extremely excruciating. And she still hosted and performed on a live New Year's Eve show.
That's what the sources really emphasize. She pushed through it. Performed despite the pain, the emergency. She talked about it later on the Zane Lowe show.
Okay, so pushing through that, and then this knee infection from filming. Anything else the material mentioned?
Yeah, there was also her diagnosis with Reinke's edema. That's a vocal cord condition. Yeah. Back in 2019.
A vocal cord issue for a singer, that's tough. What was going on around then?
Well, the material puts this around the time she performed at Glastonbury. And it adds some important context.
Yeah.
This was apparently shortly after she'd survived a plane accident.
A plane accident.
Yeah, and she was also going through her divorce at the time.
Wow. Okay, so plane scare, divorce, and a vocal cord condition. And she still does Glastonbury. So when you line these up, the cyst, the vocal issue during all that personal turmoil, this really severe knee infection from a production choice, what's the main takeaway from the sources about her whole approach?
I think what's really striking, and what the material consistently points to, is how she prioritizes the work, the performance, even when facing really significant physical pain or adversity. It's this thread of determination, resilience. It's not just a one-off.
It definitely suggests a very strong drive or maybe commitment to her art. So after the knee infection, how is she doing now? Has she recovered? And what about the projects?
Right, so moving to her current status, as of late May 2025, the material suggests she seems to have recovered. We haven't seen recent reports indicating ongoing problems with the knee.
That's good to hear. And something beautiful, the visual album she was filming when it happened, is that out?
It is. It was released May 30th, 2025. The sources mentioned it has 13 tracks, produced with Sean Everett.
Okay, and there's a film component too, right?
Yes, an accompanying film. The material gives the rollout details.
Yeah.
It debuted at Tribeca Film Festival June 6, 2025.
Tribeca, okay.
Then a one-night-only cinema release in the U.S. and Canada on June 12th, and an international cinema release set for June 27th.
A limited run. Interesting. How did she describe the film itself?
She called it a multi-sensory experience.
Multisensory experience. So she's definitely back in full creative mode, releasing major work.
Absolutely.
And it really ties back to that theme, doesn't it? Enduring these challenges, even ones caused by the production, and still seeing the project through.
Yeah, releasing these big projects right after dealing with something so severe, especially something linked to the filming itself, it just further highlights the drive the sources keep pointing to.
What about the public? How do people react to her sharing these stories, especially the knee details? Did the sources cover that?
Briefly, yeah. They noted that on platforms like X, Twitter, and in media coverage generally, fans seem to praise her for the candor, the resilience.
And the humor, probably.
And the humor, exactly, in talking about really serious stuff.
Did that yuck comment from the doctor get much traction online?
It did spark some chatter on X, according to the material. Seems like opinions were mixed. Some thought it was unprofessional. Others maybe saw it as just a very human, understandable reaction, given how bad the sources described the infection.
Right. And the sources were clear. These were just like online reactions, not confirmed medical details about the comment itself.
Yeah, they presented it more as reflecting public discussion rather than verifying the quote independently.
It's interesting how a single reported word can catch on like that. How does this overall openness about struggles fit with her image?
Well, the material suggests this mix the vulnerability but also the humor. When talking about serious things, it really aligns with the public persona she's built over the years. It seems to be part of why people connect with her.
Okay, so let's recap this deep dive. We've looked at this really severe knee infection she got from filming barefoot on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, apparently due to budget choices.
Right. And we connected that to her history of performing through intense pain, the ruptured ovarian cyst, the vocal issues during a tough personal time.
We talked about her way of discussing these things very candid, often with humor, and how she's now back, releasing major work like the Something Beautiful visual album and film after recovering.
And the central theme that kept coming up in the sources is just this incredible resilience, this determination to create and perform no matter what.
So thinking about all this material we've gone through, it leaves a kind of provocative thought for you, the listener. What is this pattern Miley Cyrus pushing through really serious health issues for her art? Whether it's enduring pain on stage or risking infection for a specific shot, what does that reveal?
Does it tell us something about the intensity of creative drive? Or maybe the demands placed on artists today? Or even just the complex, maybe consuming relationship an artist can have with their craft when it demands such personal sacrifice?
Lots to think about there.
Definitely. It offers a real glimpse into the pressures and motivations behind making art.
And just a final note, if you want to follow these kinds of stories in real time, the sources suggest keeping an eye on places like X and entertainment news outlets, People, Entertainment Weekly, those kinds of places. Things can change fast.
Absolutely. Well, that wraps up our deep dive for today.
Thanks for exploring this with us.